Hi everyone, welcome to Codes of the Unknown. This is our second episode. So you got me, Andy, you got Alan,
Hello.
and you got Ryan.
Hello.
So guys, what are we going to be covering today? Anybody know?
Dogman.
Yeah.
And a dog woman.
Yeah.
Dog people.
Dog people.
Whatever you want to call them, really.
Dog people.
Dog man, werewolves,
Well,
great wolves,
So
whatever you want to call them.
This is my... Do you think they're all the same? Or do you think there's different types? As in different species? Dogmen. Dog people.
I think there is. There has to be, because there's too many different types of sightings of them, of these things.
But what about with the werewolf side to it?
Werewolf? No, that's more... The word werewolf means somebody transforming, doesn't it? I don't believe that. I think these things are what they are, basically. Obviously, you've got the ones that are genetically altered by the government. The dog soldiers, as some people like to call them.
Hitler's making, supposedly.
Yeah. I believe they are what they are. They're a species of their own type thing. They don't transform like werewolves or, the mythical werewolf, should I say.
Well, I've heard of encounters where they've seen this, like, I don't know whether it's a dog man, but there's a black dog, called devil dog or devil hound, and there's like black mist coming off its back. So
see, I think they're separate.
Around, like a black smoke, and it's just following it around, like swirling. And then when it vanishes, the smoke goes with it as well. Or it goes up in smoke, so to speak.
Well, you've got the hound. What is it? The Hounds of the Moors or something like that in Britain.
Oh, like Hounds of the Baskervilles, like similar to...
there's supposed to be being seen a big black dog roaming around on the moors. Yeah, I mean that's been going around for quite a long time now, for well over 150 years or something.
Yeah, I know there's big cat sightings and that.
Yeah, I think they're totally separate to these things, though. Totally separate.
Ryan?
Yeah, I do. I think the flesh and blood as well. I don't think they're, because there's obviously a few different species. A few of them could be flesh and blood, but some of them could also be paranormal as well.
Yeah. So do you think...
You just don't know. But another one I've heard, there's a sighting around my area. It's called the Black Shug.
Yeah.
So that could be some form of dog man, from what I seem to gather anyway.
So do you think, like Alan said, they've been genetically modified, so to speak? Or do you think they've interbred? Like we were saying last night on Live Feed, do you think, like with aliens, do you think they've interbred with humans to become what they are? Or do you think it's a mix of DNA construction from like labs, research, government, UFOs or aliens bringing them down to put on Earth from somewhere else, travel through portals, underground tunnels?
I think we're going back to like the Egyptian times. Is it Anubis? Anubis. So again, it's like they're looking at it as some kind of like god type of figure, and that's a human body, dog head. So we could be the aliens, and they could actually have been here before, just don't know. And they've obviously survived all this time. It even goes back further than that to the Atlantean. Obviously, with the Atlantis, they got wiped out basically, and the reason why they got wiped out was because they were doing genetic experiments with humans and animals. So it could even go back further than that.
Yeah. So what about? Yeah, sorry. So what about the ones where people have seen, like the Anubis? I know there's an encounter of someone, don't know if he's walking, or if he's cycling or something, and he's come around the corner and he's free, like human body with a dog head, and they stood there chatting and smoking. They're all got a cig, and they've got these long dark coats on. Like, what reminds me of, remember the old pictures on the walls with dogs playing pool?
Cyanocephalite, they're called.
Hey?
Cyanocephalite, more human typed body with a a dog's head.
Yeah.
That's what they called them, Cyanocephalite.
Oh, right.
Apparently they've been around for a hell of a long time. Apparently they used to live alongside us at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's
So,
I do think our government have tried genetically
experimenting.
Yeah, because obviously we could at one point near enough gone extinct. So it's like what we do with animals today. If we know they're going nearly extinct, we sort of try and get the blood and sort of produce them that way, don't we? So it could be a similar sort of thing. I don't know. It's all speculation.
Yeah, so if they are flesh and blood, or the origin is Earth, where do you think they go?
Hiding. Well, yeah, hiding basically.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's plenty of tunnels around and cave systems in Britain, and even especially in America.
Yeah, there's loads in Europe.
I mean, America's got the space for a start for woodland. I mean, their woodland it's basically bigger than our whole country. You know what I mean?
You could drive 7 miles into the woods and still not be in the centre of it.
No, nowhere near.
Go 7 miles, 7 hours.
Yeah.
All right,
that's what I mean. But in our country, being in Britain, it's well known for having. We do have quite a few cave systems, and you know, that are hidden. A lot of them are hidden. Plus we've done lots of mining back in the past, so they could be using the old mine tunnels and stuff like that now. And because especially nowadays when they've got less and less space because we've encroached in their areas, building houses and other office buildings or whatever, they've probably had to divert to underground, basically, to stay hidden.
Completely agree, Alan. They're obviously the second in command to the Bigfoot in terms of hide and seeking champion.
Yeah,
they can certainly keep away from us.
So do you think they have a connection, like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti and Dogman? Do you think there's some connection between the two, or do you think they're two totally different?
In what way?
They communicate. One's higher up the ladder than the other.
From what I've heard, from the stories I've heard, and virtually every single story, when these two beings come in contact with each other, they hate each other with a vengeance. Yeah, and they'll either avoid each other out of respect, or they'll fight each other.
Yeah, it's like if a lion meets a tiger, naturally it won't ever happen because they live in both different environments.
But they used to live in the same environment a few hundred years ago, because they used to have lions in India and in Asia.
Right.
That species of lion is now extinct.
Yeah.
But they used to live side by side, lions and tigers.
I think they would naturally want to not see each other because fighting's death, isn't it, in the survival world? Even
and I suppose it'd draw attention to each other, and if they're trying to stay hidden, they're not. It's just going to bring them out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they've got their own borders in their own territories, and the majority of the time they stick to their own borders.
Yeah.
Right. So another question. So these ones obviously there's a lot more sightings in America.
Yeah.
Around Europe and that. Quite a few in the UK. Do you think any of them are related? Even though they're on separate islands, a separate continent, do you think, or not related, do you think there's a connection between them to Dogman across the world?
Well, yeah, you could say the same about us, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Obviously, there's different human races around the world.
Yeah, but we're all the same species.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We look totally different to Asian people or Indian or, the Mayans, the African, you know what I mean? We look different appearance-wise, but we're all the same species.
Yeah, we all do and say the same thing. We all take off to survive. We all got to work, eat, thrive, all that kind of stuff. Like day in, day out stuff.
Why don't you tell us about your story, Ryan? Your encounter.
Oh, yeah.
Because Andy hasn't heard that yet, has he?
No, I'll say that.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird one, really. I always still think about it today, really, because I want to go back down there to see if things are still in there. Started off, basically, there's a little nature reserve near where I live, and that nature reserve was put in place once the old mine got abandoned, keep people away from the actual openings of this particular mine. I've been on walks with family, friends and that, looking at the old entrances and stuff like that. But one day, we just, me and two of my mates, we literally thought, well, let's get a bit of kit together. And let's go and actually see if we try and get in.
Yeah.
Because obviously, my mum's generation, they've all apparently been in these mines before they caged the openings up. There's 2 entrances that you can see today, but they've like got grids. It's like gridded off.
Oh right. Okay.
There were more entrances, but they filled them in. So basically, we went one day to try and get in. But how it started is we pulled up outside the nature reserve where you can park your car.
How many was there of you?
There were 3 of us, me and 2 mates.
Right.
All like-minded people, basically. But they've never really spoke out about it.
And how long ago was this?
It was about 5 years ago.
Right.
5 to 7 years ago. It's around. Yeah. My lad was about 2 years old. He's 7. So yeah, he's about 5 years ago. When we parked the cars, all of a sudden a ranger and his van just pulled up in the field next to the fences of the nature reserve, and they were watching us. So we was a bit like, well, we don't want to go in because we've obviously got kit. We've got bolt croppers. We've got a battery powered angle grinder to try. We went in. We didn't want to sort of, because we didn't want to get in trouble as such. We were just intrigued. Just want to get in. So this ranger was that sat there for a while watching us, and we were just sort of like, we had that feeling of like, well, let's just stay put for a bit. Had a little bit of a chat. And then after half an hour or so, we'd sort of decided, right, we'll walk down to the old railway line. So that's what we did. So we took the right down the road, went down the hill, and then you got to the railway road. So we walked along that. And this range, they weren't following us at that point. We got along the railway road probably 400 or 500 yards, and then we walked up the field on the hedgerow towards the nature reserve again. So we was thinking, instead of going in through the entrance, we was thinking of going in the back end, so no one could see us going in, really, basically. So as we was approaching the nature reserve from the back end, my mate just stopped, he froze dead. Me and my other mate just looked at him and was like, "Are you alright, mate?" And then at that point, my hairs were sticking up at the back of my head. We all had that feeling. And the mate just looked up and he goes, "Can you not see that?" I looked up, I was like, well, point where you're trying to, we could see the same thing. And then when we did, you could literally just see in the trees this figure. All I could explain it to you was it was like invisible, but you could see the flickering.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It could have been, like you say, the Dogman, but I think it's more the wild man.
Right.
And then we just had that feeling. As soon as we got into the nature reserve, we just had that feeling all the way, literally. But we kept on going, so it was like, well, we're not going to stop now.
So was it just one, do you think?
There could be more. We just saw that one, but there could be more. We saw that, was like, right, okay, this is weird. We're all a bit like, I don't know how to explain it. We're sort of not panicking, but
you just wanted to get out of there.
It was that sort of feeling, but at the same time, it was like, well, we've come here now. We're not going to stop. We want to get in the mine. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we wanted to do. That was our goal.
You don't want it to put you off your initial reason for going.
Yeah. So anyway, we walked along a few of the paths in the nature reserve, and we got to the main entrance of the tunnel. It took us an hour and a half later. We eventually got an opening in. It took us a long time to get in. It's classed as unstable, this mine, but when I was looking at the roof and stuff, and it was like, well, it seemed pretty all right to me. It didn't look like it was going to I thought it was going to be worse than that. And there's apparently bats down there.
You do that more to just stop you from going in. And like,
I understand.
A lot of people go in and they go in and start smashing stuff up, don't they?
Yeah, well, you get the dickheads, don't you, that ruin it for the rest, basically.
Yeah. So it's just keep everyone out and it won't happen.
Yeah. Well, the reason why apparently they stopped that mine in the first place was because it hit an underground river.
Oh, right. I'll take it flooded.
I don't know. Obviously, that was back in the probably just after the war. It got stopped in the 60s. So anyway, we got into this tunnel. We must have got in 20 minutes into the tunnels. I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface. There was the main tunnel, but then there was tunnels going everywhere, and it was mad. We just couldn't believe it, really. So we got, like I say, about 20 minutes, half hour in, and all of a sudden we come across this bit where there was the tunnel, but then there was like a bit of a mud slope. Yeah. So a bit must have been coming in through the cracks of the roof or something. And then at the bottom, it was sort of leveled off, and that's where we saw these, that's where them socks were. But I would probably say 30, 40 yards ahead of my mate. Yeah. And they were sort of like doing a bit of hiding from me and doing this, that sort of, just lads being lads, just messing around. So I was ahead of them, and then I just obviously got your head torch on. Saw these socks, and then again I had that feeling again. My hair stuck up.
I know I've already asked you this, but were they new socks? Were they worn? Were they battered?
They were fresh, literally as if you've just brought them from a shop, pulled them out of the pack,
and put them on the floor.
And put them on the floor, yeah.
See, that's creepy on its own. Even if nothing else happened.
They were adult socks as well. They weren't baby socks. They were adult socks. But it was where they were. It was like dampest part of the mine that we saw. It was pretty bone dry up to that point because of the mud. I don't know. A bit of water must have. Yeah, and that's what I didn't understand. No, I didn't know. You can tell already.
If they were damp or dry, or would you not know?
Grey though, they would have turned different colour, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but if you don't know what colour they was to start with.
Yeah. Okay.
So, no, I was just wondering.
I know what you mean. But my idea was, my mind thinking was, well, if these have been here a long time, then surely they would have discoloured, or at least water would have collected on, and a bit of dirt would have been on them. Yeah, you'd have seen they wouldn't have been as white as they were. So that's what made me thought, well, we went on a little bit more, and then we sort of come to this point where our batches on the phones were going, and we didn't really we didn't want to go any further because we was already in a couple of hours, and we thought we'll come back more prepped up next time. We'll come back and go further, but we've never been back.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What sort of state was the tunnels in? I mean, I take it they were made out of brick.
No, they were literally mined out of iron. It's an ironstone mine.
Straight out of the...
Yeah, straight out of the rock, stone.
Oh, right, okay.
Because the village that's close to that, it's all built out of that stone.
Ah.
So that's what built the village next to it. It's called Holwell.
Yeah. To go. When lockdown's over, definitely going.
It's definitely one to go to. Just check it out. No one's really checked these areas, you see, around where I live. Sort of unknown. Yeah. So it might be more data to put on the map and stuff.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Fresh content.
Yeah. Like a plan that does.
But Tom, that's what freaked us out because of the experience before we got in, and then we saw the socks, and then when you sort of try and connect it all together, it was like, well, could it be like the missing 411? Could it be someone has gone missing, and it could be the result was Dogman or Bigfoot's taken them in back to where they live, Etom or something. You just don't know, do you?
You unless you stayed and search more, did more looking into it, you never know.
Yeah. So I'm just intrigued to go back there just to see if the socks are still there, because I'm pretty sure they would be.
The thing is if you go in like the personal ads and someone's lost a fresh pair of socks.
There is that. It could be reading into it totally the wrong way,
Yeah, but like it could be anything.
So off the feet though, just to put them there, and
it does seem very suspicious though. Why would they be in there?
Why
exactly.
would you take your socks off?
So far in as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said you had to cut to get into them through the fencing.
It was like 20 mil blood.
Yeah, so there was nobody previously opened the fence. There's no
like you say, we had a battery powered angle grinder.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So how would this whoever, say it's a person, put the socks in there without gaining entry to the site?
I have a theory on that.
There could be a secret entrance somewhere.
Yeah. Just like you said, Ryan, when you said when you was walking down it, you had different tunnels going off left and right.
Yeah.
Who knows how many different secret entrances there were?
Yeah.
And how far they go.
Exactly.
Well, we have a rough idea how far they go because it's on the actual, when you're driving the car to it, it's like couple of fields, and then there's another part of the quarry over the other side of the road to the nature reserve. There is another entrance there.
So how far underground do you think you went, and how far underground do you think the tunnels actually go?
I reckon they'll probably at least go a couple of miles.
Yeah,
and I think we didn't even get to like even half a mile. We didn't even get to that.
So as you're walking through the tunnel, is it sloping down or is it staying horizontal or?
Pretty much level.
Both. Been through man-made tunnels. I've been through caves and that in Wales, and they're like up and down and winding and then level out and all that and what have you. I actually went to some caves when I went to Mallorca, caves of Brat, and they go right. It's all, they've lit it up and tourist attraction and that now, but it's not like you go in a cave and it's pitch black. These are lights that are everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I said, the ones that went in Wales, they were quite, not as steep, but you could feel the decline as you're walking.
Yeah.
But then I've been through others, and you can tell it's level.
Yeah.
You're not like there you lean forward.
Another weird thing was.
Wondering, that was all.
Yeah, another weird thing was so literally it was only 2 weeks ago where we took the kids out for a walk and we went to the nature reserve again. There's a bit on the actual reserve where it's higher than the sort of mine side. It's quite high,
right.
And there's a bench where you can sit and look, and you can see where the cars are parked, and you can just sort of see all the other nature, all the birds. And what I did notice was on right up at the back fence there was looked like there was loads of trees coming out from under the bit lower than the ground, but it was all gridded off, fenced off. So I said to the wife, I says, right, I says, when we go back, I says, you're gonna have to stop below it, and I've got to go and check that out. So when I went and checked it out, it looked like it could be another opening into this mine, but it looks like what you said. It didn't look like it was. It looked like it went down. Yeah. At a sort of level with it, if that made sense.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But I need to obviously go back there again, try and actually get in this hole and see if it's actually filled it in, or whether you could actually even get in there again. From the actual road level itself, the mine's about 50 foot. That's what it's on the signs. That's what it says. The actual mine's about 50 foot lower than the road level, so it's quite deep.
It's about twice the size of a house, like a little bit less.
Roughly,
yeah.
So it's still quite a big distance between.
It's the big openings, not small tunnels.
You don't have to crawl through it.
No. You can. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Interesting. That's definitely a good place to go investigating.
Because this was one of the reasons us doing the podcast, was it was going to be going out investigating and then talking about it on here more than talking about what everyone else is talking about on the podcast.
Yeah.
So when we're out doing nighttime investigations and that, we're coming back, even if we don't have anything to report, we can just tell the listeners what went on, what we've seen, so on and so on. So it's more unique to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And,
When we got out of them, when we got out of the mines itself, it was like about 11:30 at night, and we all, again, as soon as we sort of approach and get back out, all of us had that feeling of someone's walking. Yeah, and it's probably about a 10-15 minute walk get back out from the actual reserve.
You not noticed any cameras or anything?
No.
Nothing.
No. So it was, they always reckon, don't they, these sightings all around old mines, quarries, nature reserve.
Yeah, because you've got everything there, haven't you?
Yeah. Again, it's part of the Vale of Beaver as well, so there's a lot of woodland. There's a what?
It's not even called Beaver. It's Belvoir.
Yeah, but around here it's called Beaver. No, it's called Beaver around here.
Yeah, but it's right in Belvoir Castle.
Yeah, but there's woodlands around here where you can't even go to.
I've passed there a few times, and it's like the place itself, the grounds of the castle and that,
Again, we snuck onto the private part of the Beaver Castle Gardens, and there's a lake. This was my wife. This is when we was back in the early days, and my sister and her boyfriend there, and we just went for a walk. So we went off off route basically, and we come down to this lake part of the Beaver grounds, and we got to this place where the people that live in the Beaver Castle. This is where they used to go and party, because there's loads of chairs. You can see like barbecues, but they're all just sort of like as if it was left. They're like it was a bit, not like a tip, but chairs were sort of turned upside down and this kind of thing. So to us, when we looked at it, I thought, hang on, this is where they come and have their secret little parties or whatever it is. As soon as we got near that lake, my hairs would stick to the back of my neck.
Do you think like you left in a hurry, whoever was there?
Yeah, that's
the impression you got.
Yeah, it didn't look like they'd been back there either. I mean, they could have, for all we know, they could have had that party that night. I don't know.
Yeah, you just thought,
it was in the summer at the time. Yeah, but again, as soon as it was one of them feelings, there's all woodlands around it, you see.
Yeah.
Deep forest, brush. It's just one of them. It was just my hair's stuck on the back of my neck.
Yeah. Another question for you, Ryan. You know where the park where the tunnels are?
Yeah.
I take it, is there a stream or a small river or something close by running through or anything like that?
But there's talk of the reason why they stopped the mine itself was because they hit an underground river and they couldn't go further because it obviously flooded
and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's a place not far at the other side of the village. Basically, there's there's a place called what they call the Whole Mile, and that is where Black Shug gets that's signs of the Black Shug, and that dates back into the medieval time. After dusk, when it gets dark, you're supposed to not go down there, because if you come in contact with this Black Shug, apparently it's death, basically.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Bad things happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I know for a fact there's an underground spring, so again it could connect, because it's pretty close. It could connect, but there's not visually. If you was walking along the ground, there's no sort of river as such or stream. It's the thing that what is nearby is disused railway line.
Do you normally get do you get any sightings of deer and rabbits and stuff like that around there?
Yeah, there's rabbits, there's badgers.
Yeah.
Deer, again, I would have thought there'd have been deer there. I haven't seen a deer there, but I would imagine you'd get it there, yeah.
Yeah, because you normally, if you're going to see deer, it's either really early in the morning or late at night.
Yeah.
Because they know that's when humans are normally in their houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I used to live at the side of that forest, I used to drive through it every morning. That's when I'd mainly see the deer. It would be like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So,
yeah, it sounds like a definite place to go and invest. I mean, we was when you was telling me about the story, Ryan. We was going to go down there, wasn't we?
Yeah.
That was Paul. We had this other lockdown, so
yeah, it was. Yeah, I want to go to Canada as well. I want to go to Rendlesham.
Thetford.
You know,
definitely go to Thetford.
I want to do Winter Hill as well.
New
that
Forest
fascinates me. That story that does.
Oh, Cheerwood Forest is supposed to be a good one and all.
Yeah, I've heard a couple from there.
Yeah, I've heard loads about that. There's apparently wild man and Bigfoot sightings in there.
Yeah.
A couple of the channels that I follow on YouTube, there's a guy that went in there. He's hearing all these weird, crazy noises, and I bet him and his son went in. Yeah, you couldn't explain anything that was going on. He was going to stay the night. He was going to stay the night, and ended up coming back same day. It got that bad.
Wow. Well, I reckon Nottingham's known as the city of Cape.
Right. Well, that's the thing with Cheerwood Forest. It pretty much used to cover like 3/4 of England.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of development and that, it's like so most forests and woods and that you see are still part of the original Sherwood Forest.
Right. Well, can it be that as well? Can it be this part of that?
It might be. It might be connected, or at some point. Because if you go back far enough, if you go back 1,000 years, and if you looked at Britain 1,000 years ago, the majority of England was forest.
Yeah.
A lot of it was, and it was just little villages here, there, dotted everywhere. You know what I mean?
But
most of it was forest then.
A lot of the forest was cut down for farming.
Yeah, farming.
That's the main reason that they lost a lot of the forestry.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we need food, don't we? Vegetables and stuff.
We're on a small island, considering.
Yeah. There's a lot of land that's protected though. They won't be able to build on it.
No.
Not enough though, if you ask me.
A lot more now. Right, so that's Ryan's encounter. Should we now talk about Alan's obsession?
My obsession. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better word, but I don't think there's one.
Well, it is an obsession though, isn't it, really?
If you're dreaming about them.
Yeah. Well, when I first got into this roughly about just over 4 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, going on YouTube, listening to encounters what they've had in America, about Sasquatch, and then I think it was only about 2.5, 3 years ago I found out about Dogman, what the Americans call Dogman. And I thought, Dogman? I thought, werewolves? I thought, nah, these things, I can believe in Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
That's plausible. Because I always think in like a scientific type of mind. Yeah, called scientific mind. And I'm thinking, okay, half man, half ape type creature would be plausible. Yeah. So I think, that's totally plausible. And especially after seeing, because I'd already seen Patterson and Gimlin film from 1967, already seen that. I've seen a few other things and photographs and, obviously the footprints. And I was thinking, well, if all these people, and there's thousands and thousands of them, are seeing very, very similar things and having very similar encounters, they can't all be lying. They can't. They just can't. Statistics say that they just can't. And then it's like I said, about 2.5, 3 years ago, I found out about Dogman. And I'm thinking, well, what the hell, Dogman? Some people call them werewolves, Dogman, whatever, yeah? I'm thinking, what? Nah, these things can't exist.
See, when I first heard the phrase Dogman, I pictured like we were talking about before, human body with
like
dog's head
Anubis
on top. Yeah.
Yeah, basically like Anubis or the
Didn't
Cyanocephalite.
realise it was more wolf-like.
Yeah, well, that's what I came to find out as well, because I was listening to a lot of podcasts on Facebook, on YouTube.
Yeah.
At the time, and some of these would be only an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Some go up to like 3 or 4. There's some on there 9 hours long.
Yeah, tell me about
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
even I don't have enough time to listen to that.
Nah, but I did listen to a couple that were like about between the 2 and 3 hour long versions of them, like, and they kept seeing the witnesses, because obviously you'd have the host on the podcast, and then they'd have these guests on talking about these things, and the majority of them were like the southern United States,
Yeah, West Virginia.
Yeah, places like that, Texas,
Arizona.
Yeah, and so they'd have. I remember one podcast I was listening to, and it had a couple of guys on there, a couple of big guys. I mean, these guys weren't small. Yeah, they were both over 6 foot tall, and they were both like, big guys. They weren't skinny guys. They were quite big, decent, hefty guys.
Yeah.
And they'd been used to hunt. They'd been hunting most of their lives, stuff like that. Deer, bear. Well, no, I don't think they got bear down that far. But hogs and turkeys and stuff like that, And they said these two guys went in this one area, and it was almost like on a hill where they parked their truck.
Yeah.
And they set up camp and everything, so we're going to stay there a few days. And on the one side, there was like a slope, and it was almost like a grass verge slope, like a gradual slope down, and then around them, it was like the wood line around them,
Yeah.
And the one guy says they could hear something in the wood line. So the one guy goes off with his gun, starts investigating, and he says it didn't sound like a hog or a deer, because he could distinguish the footsteps, how it was walking. It didn't sound like it was a quadruped. It sounded like it was a bipedal. Yeah. So he thought that was rather strange. So he went back to his mate, who was up by the truck and the campfire, and he told him, and apparently this thing circled, so it was basically come to the patch of woods where it was par with their campfire and their truck, and then they started hearing growls, deep guttural growls, like something you can tell that they could tell it was something big, because of when you get something with a large rib cage and large lungs, and you can tell it's a real deep guttural sound.
Yeah, well, I'd heard that sound. I've never heard it once, and I wasn't going having a look to see what it was.
Where was that?
Where I used to live.
You're joking me?
No, honestly.
Oh, you're going to have to tell us about that after.
Well, do you want me to tell you now, or do you want to carry on and tell you at the end?
Well, I'm nearly at the end of this.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So anyway, they thought it might be somebody, prattling around. So they shouts off into the wood line, which was about 70 metres in front, 70 yards, as the Yanks say, 70 yards away from them. Yeah. And they would say, if this is a joke, come out now, because we're armed, type thing. Yeah. Or we'll shoot you, type. We are armed. We'll shoot you if you, don't stop messing around. And as the interview went on a little bit, they said this thing stepped out of the wood line, and they both said this thing just looked like the conventional werewolf.
Really?
Yeah. What you'd see on horror movies. Big.
Like the Hollywood version.
It was between 7 and 8 feet tall, apparently.
Yeah.
It was over 7 feet tall, put it that way. It was between 7 and 8 feet tall. Big, massive wolf-type head. Ears, conventional werewolf ears. The torso was built like a bodybuilder. Very narrow waist, huge chest and shoulders and arms, and big, long arms. And they were saying on the end of the arms, it was like normal human hands, but with...
not paws.
Huge, but with huge claws on the end of each finger, like you'd see on a werewolf film. Yeah, like The Howling, for instance.
Yeah.
The original Howling. That type of thing, but it was, built like a bodybuilder, they were saying. It was quite large, chested and broad-shouldered, but it was very narrow waisted. And it had the canine feet and legs.
I was just about to say, what were the legs? Was it human
just
or
like you'd see like a werewolf on a film, legs and everything, the feet.
But the hunches? Is it hunches?
Yeah, all of that.
He goes backwards.
Honestly, But the hands, well, were human hands, but with huge claws coming off, like 2 or 3 inch claws coming off these things.
Yeah.
And the guy, one of the guys had a revolver. I think he said it was a Magnum 44 or something. It was a powerful revolver. I can't remember the exact revolver he had. And he says, and obviously they was dumbfounded for what they were actually seeing. They just couldn't believe it. Anyway, the one guy, he was saying, don't come any close, because it was walking slowly towards them.
Yeah.
And as it was getting closer, the guys were saying, don't come any closer or we will shoot. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, who knows, it might have understood what they were saying, whatever. But it kept coming forward. So the one guy fired, square bang, right in the chest, in the middle of the chest, yeah? Roughly where the heart is, roughly, yeah. And they said this thing didn't even flinch when they shot it.
See, I've heard stories where people have fired at him, and either the bullets phased through him, or so it's gone through, and you see it come out, but it's had no entry or exit wound. It's just gone.
Must admit, I've never heard of that.
But then that gets to the supernatural side, though, Andy. Then, doesn't it? If
yeah,
going
I've
through
never heard of that. I must
admit.
That's
the thing. So I've heard where it's like phased through, so it's like you'd imagine a ghost, yeah, that sort of thing. Or the bullets hit and like done 0 damage.
Yeah, I've heard a lot where the bullet virtually 0 damage.
It's like flicking them or something.
Yeah. Shooting somebody with a pellet gun or a BB gun type thing. Yeah.
Pea shooter.
Yeah, something like that, where it's not going to penetrate or see what I mean. They ended up shooting another few rounds at this thing, and then it started backing away back into the woods, and it was really pissed off. It didn't come any closer, it just backed away. There was no blood because they could hear this thing. It was in rage, apparently, this thing was. And it was running through the woods like you wouldn't believe. So they knew it had moved on. So they went towards the wood line to see if there was any blood. There was nothing. No blood, nothing.
No.
Not even a drop.
Interesting.
Yeah, very.
I've
heard a few like that. And then they've come back the next night and there's been like 2 or 3 of them. That's more on people's properties though. Where they try like getting them off the property, like they've seen one at the time, they've heard noises the next night or a couple of nights later, and there's like 2 or 3 of them coming. They'll only come up to the tree line, they won't come past the tree line, actually onto the property. But there's been more of them, and they've been like intimidating the people that live there, and it's gone on months, weeks, years, whatever.
Yeah, they do like doing that. These things. Intimidating people, scaring the hell out of people.
Yeah, so that noise I heard, this was freaky.
Tell us about that.
Normal day, nothing exciting, went to work, come home, to where I used to live. I won't say where it is. And the person that I was living with at the time, they was in the shower, I was in the bedroom, front of the house. So the window, about 12 foot off the ground? The bottom of the first bedroom window. And then underneath that, so where the front door was and the window was like slightly off to the right, there was like I don't know what tree it was. It had the little red berries on them.
Oh yeah, another one you're talking about.
Yeah, there was one of them. Anyway, I ended up cutting it down, not just because of that, but because it was like it's just growing, like going from blocking. Yeah, just getting in the way at the time, so I cut it off at the stump. But anyway, there's one night. So where I used to live, the houses, it's a crop. You've got a square of houses with grass in the middle. You can't get a car into it, so you've got like a bit of an underpass that go through, and you got the communal parking in that.
Yeah.
So where I live, look straight down. So you could look out the front door or look out the bedroom window, and you could see to where the underpass was, and then where the cars would be back. The other one was off to the left, and I couldn't see that one. So there was one night, getting ready to go to bed, sat on the bed, and I was in the shower. I heard this deep growling, but it wasn't a growl that I've ever... You know when a dog's growling, this was really deep. But this was coming directly under the window. So it's a window that opens from the bottom out.
Yeah, yeah.
Tilting windows, so there's like it was on the latch. There's about a 2-inch gap, and you could hear this. I'll try and do the noise. Don't laugh. It's like
almost like a breathing type.
But you could tell it was coming from the gut and not the mouth. It was so deep and so loud, and I was like, "Can you hear that?" It's like, "Oh, it's probably a car." What are you on about? A car? What car do you know that makes that noise?
Yeah.
This is a true story, by the way. I'm like, come and listen. And by the time they go out the shower, it stopped. but I'd say it lasted about 20, 30 seconds. I'm Joe, when you want to look, but you got telling you, don't look out the window. It was one of them. And I was sat on the edge of the bed. I was like 2 foot from the window, if that. And I just had visions of, if I'd have put my hand out, or my head out to look, I'd have been dragged through the window. That's all I could think.
You know when you heard the sound?
Yeah.
Because you can normally get a rough estimate the size of the rib cage and that, can't you, by how deep it is and stuff like that. Yeah. How would you say how big this thing must have been? Roughly, going by the sound?
I'd say at least the size of a fully grown St. Bernard, yeah? That's if it was underneath the window. That's if it was 11 foot up in the air. If it
St.
was
Bernards are quite narrow-chested, aren't they?
No, but they're a big dog, size-wise.
Yeah, I'm on about rib cage-wise. How did it sound like it had a big rib cage and big lungs?
Yeah. Well, so imagine a St. Bernard, yeah? But with how it sounded, how loud it was and all that, it would have been a St. Bernard sat underneath the window, which is 11 foot off the floor, or imagine it was on the floor. It must have been 2-3 times bigger than that because of the distance in ratio.
Yeah.
Is that what I mean?
Yeah, that's weird.
Size of a bear.
Well, if it was 8 foot, say if it was 8 or 9 foot, and if it could have been directly underneath your window, including its arm span, it would probably be waiting for you just to stick your head out on that, and it would just quick grab, bang. Out.
Yeah.
Because what I've heard about them as well is that they're quite sneaky. If they'll make noises for you to go out your house to check. Oh, what's that? And then that's where they.
I didn't know.
Grab you.
Was it somewhat smaller that climbed up the tree? Because that tree you could have climbed up, and the branches went under the bedroom window, and it was a triple window, so it was like 2.5 meters long from one end to the other. So the 2 end ones opened, the middle one didn't. But like I said, because it was a close, it's quite late at night. There's a lot of older people that lived in there. Like I'm talking 80s and 90-year-olds. So they're not up and about at that time. There's only one person that had a dog that lived on the croft, and they had a Jack Russell, and they lived in the opposite corner. Never heard a Jack Russell that loud, put it that way. But it was weird because that was the only sound that came from it. There's no other noise or anything. Didn't hear anything else. No scratching. No movement, but like I said, as it stopped, even after it stopped, but I'm not looking out because I had a feeling whatever it was still there.
Right.
Yeah. But in the area that it was, and I didn't realise this till a few weeks ago when I was chatting to someone, the next town or village, which is literally, you walk out the street, you cross the main road, and then you're there, has Wolf in the title, WOLV.
Interesting. Did you hear about any other unusual stuff around the area?
Well, no, because I didn't really know that many people around there anyway, because it's not somewhere where I grew up, it's somewhere I moved after moving from Manchester.
Yeah.
I knew a few people, but it's not the sort of conversation you'd have with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you found out anything since?
Nothing. That's the only time ever I've heard a noise like that.
No, I mean any stories from that area since.
Sorry. No, because I'm not there. That's like nearly 30 miles away from where I am now. So the only time really go over that way was for shopping. There's a big shopping complex there, or if I'm driving through for work. A few woods and that in the area. It's right off the A5 as well.
Right. Which interesting.
Did
you just say A5?
A5. You got Leighton Buzzard and Aylesbury down at one end, and at the other end you go up towards Tolster. The
A5's an old Roman road, isn't it?
Yes, goes straight into London. Yeah, the A5, if I was to drive to Cannock and not go on the motorway, I'd just jump on the A5.
Yeah, same here as well from this.
It goes through the town of Cannock, where all the speed cameras are.
Yeah,
go on, Ryan.
I reckon that's one of my theories of how these cryptids travel is on the old Roman roads and the railway line. So you've just mentioned the A5, and Alan's just said it's an old Roman road. Then
ancient walkways and road
systems.
Yeah.
So, Alan, where your house is, where you say you come out of your house at the back and you walk halfway down towards the road at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'd say the halfway point is from where the house is to where the A5 is, of where I used to live.
Oh, very close then. Very close.
I'd say, 200-300 yards?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So you've got the back of the house, there's a little road that goes into the street at the back, then you've got a grass down that goes up with trees. If you drop down the back of them trees, that'll drop down and actually go on, that's the embankment on the actual A5.
Bloody hell.
is southbound.
That's interesting, that is.
I never really looked into it that much because it was one of them things that I forgot about. And then when you start hearing about other people's encounters, it triggers something.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like one of them things, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Triggers a memory.
That happened, I'd say, roughly about 8 years ago. I keep thinking we're in 2020. About 8 years ago.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you two heard about Old Stinker?
No.
Refresh me. I might have done.
It's called Old Stinker. That's what they call him.
Yeah.
It's one of the first cases I found out about him that Dogman was in Britain. Yeah. Old Stinker resides around the town of Hull.
Yes, I've heard about this.
That's what they call him. They call him Old Stinker because he really reeks, because he, the stench that they get from this thing. So apparently there's a river that runs through Hull, isn't there? I can't remember the name of it.
River Trent.
No, it's the Trent himself. Hull's like up in the northeast.
Yeah.
No. The Trent comes from the Hull.
I know Hull's a fishing town, and that's where a lot of the fish in the UK are caught. I'll have a quick look now.
The Vikings. That's how the Vikings got down Nottingham and that through the River Trent.
But anyway, the name of the river's not that important. But there was.
Do you know what it's called? You got the Humber.
Sounds familiar.
That's the map. You've actually got the River Hull. Yeah, Kingston upon Hull. So the River Hull is a navigation river in the East Ridings of Yorkshire in northern England. It rises from a series of springs to the west of Driffield and enters the Humber estuary at Kingston upon Hull. Following a period when the Archbishops of York charged tolls for its use, it became a free navigation, and it's 22 kilometres inland. You got the River Hull and you got the Humber. But the Humber's the one where the bridge goes over near Beverley, and then it goes into the sea. It's an estuary.
Yeah, when I started finding out about all these sightings they were getting around in Hull, along the river, along the banks, like dog walkers, walking around in these sort of areas, and they get a weird smell, that horrible stink, whatever smell they smell of, very distinctive, nasty, horrible, skunky feces, urine, all of that, all of the above mixed into one type smell. That's why they called him Old Stinker, because of the actual smell, because you could smell it first before you got any sighting or any movement.
Yeah,
right.
And apparently they were scaring dog walkers. I think there was a couple of cases where people were walking their dogs, and it took their dog. It literally took the dog, snatched the dog. They never found the dog ever again.
Main meal of the day, by the sounds of it.
So it was like, maybe food was short and it was taking people's dogs.
Well, like I said, though, it's like Hull is a massive fishing town. That's pretty much the main thing that goes on around there. So there shouldn't be that much shortage of food unless it's unable to access the points to get it, or it's fed up with fish.
Well, probably at the back end of Hull, from the idea because at the back end of Hull, because the river runs straight through Hull, doesn't it? If I believe rightly, yeah.
And then it goes. You've got Grimsby, and you've got, I think, is it Scunthorpe up that way? Am I going the wrong way?
Scunthorpe is up that way, yeah.
Yeah. Then you got Cleethorpe.
I don't know about the other places, but
they're all like near each other.
Yeah, it's all around that area, but there seems to be a lot of activity, I found, around that area, up the north, like north of Manchester, from Manchester upwards, basically.
Yeah.
Northumberland.
No, that's going up to
Newcastle now, isn't it?
But I also heard a few cases down, like, Somerset way and Devon.
No, see, I've not heard. The only thing I've ever heard was what we was talking about last night on the stream, was the Owl Man in Cornwall.
Well, you might have heard of this story because it's been on YouTube on a few different channels. A woman was dog sitting for a friend, yeah?
Yeah.
So she'd go around her friend's house, and she was watching the dog in the garden, in her friend's garden, yeah?
Yeah.
Apparently around the garden there was a 6-foot fence, and the dog, it was only a small dog. I can't remember what species, but it was only a small species of dog.
Yeah.
And it was around, doing its business in the garden, yeah? And the dog was going crazy, focusing on this one point in the garden at the fence. This woman could hear, like, all of a sudden heard something large growling.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said it sounded big, deep, Yeah, it felt like it was something large.
Right. No, I've not heard that one.
No, that was another one of the first ones I ever heard of.
Yeah, right. No,
was that in the forest a bit?
No, it was more farmland type area.
Right.
But with houses like a medium-sized village or small town.
Yeah.
Where you've got fields close by and stuff like that. You know, patches of woodland dotted there, everywhere type thing.
No, the only other thing I've heard of down there is like the beast of Bodmin. That's it.
Yeah, that's a big cat.
Yeah, well, they think it is.
Well, they don't know what it is, do they?
No, because no one's got close enough to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen an actual photo of that. Somebody
I've
took what they thought it was.
Is that the one where it's in the long grass? It looks like a black panther.
No, this thing looked like a black lion.
I've seen the video of the black lion and it's running.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Fact or Fakes.
Yeah, that's the same picture. Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah.
Can you send me that picture?
It looked like a black lion because you could see the mane, because you could tell it was running. And you could see the mane. It's just black.
On Fact or Fake, they try and reenact it, they try and debunk it, and they couldn't do it.
No.
They tried using different animals, and I'll find the video and I'll send you the link. You'll have to watch the show.
But it looks big as well, though, doesn't it? And it does look big.
Pure black.
Yeah, and it looks like a place for in Britain.
Lions are gold or sand or a whitey colour, but this was like black pure soul.
Yeah, it did, doesn't it?
I'll find it and I'll put it on the link. I'll put a link to it.
Looks very convincing as well, doesn't it? That photo.
No,
it doesn't look like it's been tampered with, did it?
I've seen the video, actual footage.
Yeah, I have as well.
Running.
You've got photos and the short video.
No way it was photoshopped or CGI.
No.
It's too...
Honestly, you've got to see it, Brian. It's amazing.
Wow, I need to see this.
Well, I'll find it. I'll put it on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And then you can have a look, because we're going to be putting the links on there for the show anyway. So I'm going to be putting the links on for YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. So you can all go on there and see it on that side.
Yeah, so that's basically where my fascination of Dogman's come from, really. And I just dream about them, as I've dreamt about them and all sorts.
So, you know, they always reckon, don't they, if you're dreaming about them, they're actually close to you.
Yes. Well, that's
what they say. Well, I'm not convinced on that, to be honest.
I've heard when you dream about something, it's because you want it so bad.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one.
It's like when you dream about
I want to come in contact with one of these things.
You say when you dream about people, it's because you're missing that person. You want to have some contact with them again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just going off that theory.
I would agree with that, Anne, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people have in my dream, I think, well, the opposite.
I'm not that big on being spiritual anyway, to be honest with you, Ryan. Okay. So that's why I don't go on that theory side, if you know what I mean. I'm more with Andy on this one.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just going off what I've heard, and it does kind of make sense. Because it's like, you say, what are your dreams? What are your goals in life? Yeah?
Mm.
And then you actually dream of it.
Visualise.
Yeah. Alan's doing some faces.
So there's a fair few places for us to want to go then when this lockdown ends.
Yeah.
He's on the list.
I've got to live. A lot of the places that I want to go, I've only ever been to through work, so I've not had time to
explore.
To go out, and have a look about. The longest I've stayed somewhere is like 5 minutes. Do our live feeds. It's usually every Friday. We're not doing one this week coming. Like I said, I'm on holiday. And then we do the podcast once a fortnight. So every 2 weeks we do a live feed. So there's an 8-day and a 6-day gap between doing the live feed on the Friday and then the podcast. So it'll be live feed on the Friday night, a podcast 8 days after.
Saturday.
Not the day Saturday after.
A week day after.
Every other Saturday. That's it for this week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks today to record our next one. Not sure what the topic's going to be on that, but we'll keep that as a surprise and we'll let you know on the actual day. So that's another week done. So thank you again for joining us, listening, subscribing, following, liking, not
just taking an interest.
Not the two people that keep thumb down in everything, whoever they are.
I won't worry about it.
No, I'm not. Right. So, until next time.
It's a good night from me.
It's a good night from him.
Yay.